Hi, friends and family,
Welcome to Hope After Addiction
with your hosts, Katie Comer.
and Chelsea McLeod.
Hi, welcome, friends and family, to Hope After Addiction. We are so happy that you've joined us today. Today is a special day because we're entering into the holiday season, and so we wanted to really just dive into what that means for you all. It's a joyous season. I love the holidays. I really do. They're so much fun. I actually just did my calendar for December and like all of the holiday stuff, and it's just so much fun. It's busy, but it's fun. And so it's a joyous season, but the reason we wanted to do this podcast today is because it's not always a joyous season. It's a hard season for a lot of people. The people that kind of listen to our podcasts are kind of from all over, like, walks of life, meaning they might have somebody in recovery, like in the rehab currently. So you might kind of feel lonely because that loved one's not going to be with you for the holidays. But then you also might have somebody who just got out of rehab. So there's a lot of trust issues going on.
It's a scary time.
It's a scary time. It's an unknown time. But then there's also people who know that the loved one needs rehab, but they haven't committed yet. So we kind of know that there's all different walks in this recovery process. So we wanted to kind of be there for you, set some boundaries for you, and what we did in our own lives. Just as we enter into this holiday season. Yeah.
I love that because it's hard.
Yeah.
It's such a sweet season, but it's hard. I know for us, infertility was a big part of our just seasons, and I loathed Christmas.
Sad.
Yeah, and it was
Sad
comparison for me because I would see everybody else with these happy little families, and it was my greatest desire. And so I had to set up some things to help me through the holidays, just with getting off of social media or doing things to make so I mean there's so many people I think that we speak to that are probably going through something this season, and just to have some tips to get through it and walk through it.
Social media, man, I like it.
Blessing and a curse.
I mean, honestly, people put their best foot forward, and you know this, but you're like, these people are just the perfect people. And then you hear of something and you're like, I had no idea they were walking through that.
It's so true.
And if you hadn't known, like, Adam and I's story, like back, a decade ago, you would have been like, y'all did what? And y'all did what? And he was like, what? Like, it's just, we talk about it a lot. So that's the only reason, you'd be able to know that. But I mean, people aren't just going to like spew out their marriage problems and their, their infertility problems. A lot of times they just kind of keep it hidden, and you don't know the struggles that they're going through. So the comparison game, man, it's hard, especially during the holiday season.
It is. Do things to protect you. That's okay.
Yeah, and I know that it's a lonely season and a hard season for a lot of people who are struggling as the addict. I know that you have a statistic that kind of blew us away when you were telling me about it. I was like, we need to share that.
Yeah, for sure. So the Alcohol Monitoring System did an up-to-date study that said that violations rose 33%. So DUIs, domestic disputes, drug charges, all of that. I mean, 33% is a huge number.
Yeah.
Compared, I mean, you're heading on up to 50% at that point.
Yeah, I think that, with the holidays, there's a lot of holiday parties. There's, a lot of people who want to numb their pain. But if they see a family member or something, they're like, I just can't deal with them. And so they drink. The holiday parties themselves have alcohol. I mean, I can see where, that can happen, which brings me to a point of kind of like, when I think about it, I'm like, well, people are going to know this already. I don't even need to like talk about it, but we do, because sometimes we forget. But something that's important, if you're hosting especially, but really year round, if you have, if you know somebody that has a history of abuse, abusing drugs and alcohol, you need to put up your pills.
Yeah.
If you have them from like a past injury or surgery or something, if you haven't already flushed them, which I recommend, if you have them, put them away.
Yeah.
Because those addicts will find them and it will be a trigger for them.
Yeah. And let me go a little bit further on that, because I know for us, like, pills were John's drug of choice, but alcohol was his stumbling block. So he didn't love alcohol, but if he couldn't have his other drug of choice, he would go for alcohol.
Yeah.
So any of it really is a stumbling block.
Yeah.
For
put up the alcohol.
Yeah.
Put up the alcohol. If you know somebody has that history of abuse, you know, we're not here to be your Holy Spirit and whatever you choose to do for the holidays. But when you are around people with a history of abuse, that is something that you need to take into account. So
for sure.
Yeah. Another thing that I thought, something that I never did with Adam early on in his recovery, but I think that it would have been helpful, is, so like I said, so I wrote out my December calendar, right? And so it's just like getting super crazy and busy, which is so fun. But I would encourage you to do that and sit down with your loved one, especially if they're out of rehab, especially fresh. But just sit down with them and talk about the expectations that would be best for them in this season. Because a lot of times a friend that they used to hang out with might be a trigger for them. And if they're really honest with themselves, they say, you know what, it might not be best for me to go to this holiday party. Let's do something fun instead. Because early on in their sobriety, especially, those kind of conversations are super healthy for you to understand them.
Yes.
And you can kind of plan out your holiday season. These family members, it's difficult. Can we try to figure out a different way to spend time with them? Because going to their house, they're always drunk.
Yep.
You know.
Yep.
So
yeah, I think that is huge. And just to keep open communication during this time, because unmet expectations are killers. And so if we fill out our calendars and have all these expectations for our loved ones, and then they kind of backstep or just put up a fight about it, we have to understand that there may be something else there. And so having that conversation and sitting down ahead of the game to be like, hey, what are your expectations for Christmas? Tell me maybe something that you wouldn't be as comfortable doing, or maybe something that there will be triggers at. Tell me what are those things, so that we know ahead of the time, like Katie said, where we can plan around this.
Yeah.
To still be good stewards of our family, but not to put ourselves in a situation that we don't need to be in, that's going to halt or hurt your walk of sobriety.
Yeah.
Which is huge.
Yeah, definitely put up those boundaries and help create those boundaries within your family. If you have a son or daughter that's newly out of rehab, you as the parent sitting down with them, talking with them about what makes them the most comfortable. If you have a husband or wife doing the same. So yeah, just sit down, talk about your calendar, talk about the holiday season and what would be best for their sobriety.
Yeah. And it's just another thing that hit me is even the ones struggling with addiction or in that walk of sobriety, to also hear our hearts and to be like, hey, going around these people makes me anxious, or going around this kind of concerns me. And so that you both have open communication where we're not hovering over you, we're walking beside you, but that open communication. Because I know when John and I don't communicate, there's too much room for the enemy to come in and speak to our minds. Or when we're open and we talk about it and expectations are clear, everything's out on the table, we can walk forward.
That's year round.
Year round, sister.
Yeah, that's not just the holidays.
Amen.
I mean, this is the holiday episode, and it's super wise to do it during all the holiday parties.
Yeah.
But yeah, talking about your expectations, you know, talking about that, super healthy for your marriage.
It's huge. I know we had
for your mind. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. We had to come to Jesus. I was pregnant with Jasper, so I was finally like Clark Griswold, super excited about the holidays. So we go to get a tree and get it to the house, and John's like, I'm going hunting. Peace out. And I'm like, wait a minute, you know, and Mom always raised us to where we did so much. Like the holidays were wonderful, even in our brokenness. And my sweet mom is a single mom, and he got a little upset and walked away, and he came back and he's like, you know what? Christmas was so hard for me. And he's like, you're right. I've never been excited about it. But we sat down and we talked about it and communicated it. And now, like last year at the tree farm, John cried picking out our Christmas tree because he's like, I'm making traditions with my own family. But it took a hard conversation. and us communicating. I'm like, dude, we have a kid coming. Like, this is really special to me.
Yeah.
So communication is huge.
That's
and now I
good.
have my own Clark Griswold.
Yeah.
So it's exciting.
Do you like do your house like a lot or no?
I'm in the process of that. I want to do more and more. So
Yeah, I'm the same way.
we're in a different house this year. So it'll, you know,
Oh,
you got to
yeah.
find all the
That's
things
right.
for all the spaces. So, but yeah, we go pick out a Christmas tree and cut it down, and
Yeah, I know.
it's fun.
It's so fun.
Yeah.
I know.
It's sweet.
It is sweet.
Uh-huh.
So another thing is somebody who you know, let's say they walk, it's the first time you've seen them
Yes.
in a while, right?
Yeah.
Your loved one comes walking through those doors and they are not well.
Like,
And
bro,
you
you
know
look
it.
rough.
So, this year has not treated you well.
Yeah.
I mean, and you know something's off.
Yeah.
Let's talk about what that looks like for the loved ones. And for me, is if you sit them down and talk with them, whatever that looks like, and we get more to that here in a minute, is do not let them make you feel crazy, because that's manipulation
And gaslight and
Yes.
deflection.
Yes. So if you know something's wrong, maybe you're having an intervention of some sort, don't let them use that as a manipulation tool.
Yeah.
So don't let them make you feel crazy, because you know what you see and you have an intuition. So kind of go with that.
Trust.
Yeah.
it.
Trust that
it.
intuition for sure.
Yeah, and it's crazy. I mean, John, being on the call center, y'all would not believe how many people, and Katie's heard this too, but they're like, well, we just want to wait till the holidays are over.
I know. I just had
Y'all.
one. I
Yeah.
literally had one just a week or two ago.
Yeah. And
Say
like
that.
getting real serious, don't wait till the holidays are over, because you are gambling
Their life.
their life. If we can say, yeah, you are, because,
Yeah.
and the way I put it, even with John going in for, you know, our agreement was 6 months, and it was like, you would rather have them gone for one holiday, for one birthday, for one Christmas, than to not have them the rest of those.
Yeah.
And so it's okay to put the foot down and be like, no, like, you're going to go,
Yeah.
or this is what we're intervening for,
Yeah.
because don't wait to save face for the family, because the family's going to know.
They are.
They're going to see
Eventually.
it too. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard. I know, because
Yeah.
I get it. You have like stuff planned.
You got kids.
You have
Another
kids.
one.
But I mean, I had somebody reach out to me and say, hey, I have a loved one who I believe is ready. He has admitted to going, but he doesn't want to go until after Christmas. And I'm like, okay, well,
Yeah.
I mean, at least he's saying he's going, and that's great.
Yes.
But if he can get in,
Yeah.
let's get him in.
Yeah.
He's ready to go. And there's like a window too. I know that y'all talked
There-
about this.
Yeah, it's huge. So when somebody admits that they're ready and willing to go, you have a 36-hour window. I think that number is, if I'm remembering
Yeah.
correctly. So when they say go, you better get them in the car,
Yeah.
with or without clothes. You can handle that later and get them there.
Call
Because-
us 2L.
Yeah,
help
absolutely.
ya.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So, you might see some people that you know need the help, intervention. I know that you can call us 2L that can maybe guide you through what
Yeah,
intervention looks
for
like
sure.
amongst your family, give you some tips for that. But sit down with them and let's just have an honest conversation, as
Yeah.
hard as it may be.
And
right?
it's going to be hard. Like
Right.
I've said before, you're going to get the lashes and the,
Yeah.
you know, y'all are crazy and this is not what it
Yeah.
looks like. Or, you know, and we always say, when they say it's been two beers, that means it's been
Yeah.
6 to 8. I mean, there's more, it'll come out, but it's worth the tough conversation. It's worth the tough love to sit down and have that even if it's Christmas Eve,
Yeah.
you know, whatever that may look like.
Yeah.
That's
So
you
get
fighting.
them the help.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in worst case, it's after Christmas. We have,
Yeah.
it's kind of like a slower season, you know, right before into the holidays because of what we're talking about. But they want to wait till after the holidays. And then just like January, February
It's
rolls around and you're like,
yeah.
there's so many people
Yeah.
that need help.
Yeah.
And it's just because they've been around family. They've been confronted. They finally go. But let's get them in.
Yep.
Let's get them
been
in before,
exposed.
because we want to save their life. And they need it. So.
Yeah, for sure.
So we've talked about the people who are freshly out,
Yeah.
right, of rehab. We've talked about the people who need to go. And then about the people who, let's talk about the people who are dealing with loved ones in rehab.
And yes.
Currently. And that's a super lonely place for you all to be. Now, from my journey, Adam was never in rehab. During the holidays, he went like in March-ish sometime when he first went in. But I was in a lonely place because nobody knew around me except for me.
That's hard.
So he wasn't yet in rehab, but I was still in a lonely place because, I mean, what am I supposed to do with this information? I know he needs it. He's trying to detox on his own. He's trying to do it himself. He's in that. If you've heard my testimony, that's kind of where he was at in that testimony. Yeah. So it was like hard. It was before my family knew. So
well, and sometimes I think that's more lonely than it being out in the open and being physically alone. The loneliness of you being in this room with all the joy around you and you holding the secret that nobody else knows.
I know.
That's lonely.
I know. It's such a lonely time.
Yeah.
And then it's also lonely when they're in the rehab. You know, you're, like I said, I never was, that was not my story. I don't know. Was John in rehab?
No, he was not. I think I was up here by then though. So we went through this. He was not in during the seasons, but I know for me, like Sundays were super lonely. Yeah. And it's not a huge holiday, but I struggled every Sunday, even Friday nights. And John's mom would text me every Friday and say, Happy Wednesday. Aww. Because I think Sundays too, it's a time you're supposed to be with your loved one and your family. So, I mean, there's those lonely times, but nothing like Christmas. Yeah. But there's those things just, you know, if social media is a trouble in comparison, get off of it. It's okay for a little while to take a hiatus. Yeah. Make new traditions for yourself. If you have kids, do fun things with them. Go away for the holiday if you need to. Yeah. Or do new traditions, Christmas lights, Christmas cookies, like do stuff to bring that joy in that's out of your norm where you're not sitting, sulking and missing them.
Yeah. It's not going to be easy. And no matter what we say, that it's not going to bring some sort of joy. No. But it can bring comfort to know that there's a lot of people that are dealing with it, are dealing with having a loved one in rehab. But I always said I'd much rather Adam have been in rehab and me know that he's safe and loved and taken care of than anything. So rest in that. Yeah. Rest in that promise that God is going to heal him and that he's going to be free, or she is going to be free from the chains of addiction. So
for sure. And let God work on you in that in that time. I do remember in New Year's that John was gone, and it was the one time it snowed in Savannah, Georgia, and that wasn't a sweet time then. Yeah. But I look back at that now because I was stuck in my house alone for 3 days, and how precious that was. Because y'all, like, I just sat in my Bible and I wrote and I did all those things to just bring me closer. And now I can look back at how sweet that was and how different of a season that was to sit alone on the New Year. So it's hard.
The New Year too.
Yeah. Yeah. Because that's another one, a big party one too. So set new boundaries, set new traditions. Yeah.
Know that you're not alone.
Yes.
It can be a joyous season, but we do realize that it can be hard as well. Did you have anything else?
I think just one of the things that I had written down was developing a sense of resilience and grace is key for this upcoming holiday. And you're going to be doing new things. You're going to struggle, but you're going to overcome those struggles. You're going to gain new strength. You're going to gain an intimacy with God like you've never had before. Yeah. And armor up. Like, this is your season. It is a Christian holiday, so know the enemy is out to take that joy and to steal that joy. Armor yourself up and dig into God's graces and his words and his promises just to carry you through this season, because we know that they're hard. We know that they're lonely. Yeah.
Well, we do. We hope that you have a really great holiday season, Christmas season. Enjoy yourself. But I wanted to say one more thing. Every now and then, I forget to say it in some of our podcasts, but we do have an email and we do have social medias. Talking about social media. we do have social media. So if this is a lonely time for you, or in any of the podcasts that we talk about, if you have a question, if you say, hey, I really need them to pray for me about this,
Yes.
reach out to us
Yeah.
and we will. We will pray for you because we've been there.
Yeah.
But if you have a question, if there's a topic that you want us to talk about, shoot us an email, private message us on social media. But you can find us Instagram and Facebook, Hope After Addiction.
Yeah.
So just look those up. It kind of looks similar. Like that's kind of like our logo right there.
Logo. I love it.
And then if you want to shoot us an email, it's hopeafteraddiction@gmail.com. Hopeafteraddiction@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. And we'll get to those and share those podcasts because we're always looking for new ideas to talk about.
Yeah, and let us be your prayer warrior. If you're looking for a prayer warrior, we're here and we can be that for you.
Right. We would love to hear from you. So we hope that you have a good holiday season. We hope that you are blessed this holiday season. And we're hoping that this podcast specifically gives you encouragement and that you find something that you can take away to help your holiday season be just a little bit brighter. So thank you for joining us.